How we doing, America? It's time to start thinking about another new year. Unfortunately, it's time to continue thinking about the stuff going on in this country. I want to talk today about somebody that is very closely related to the last one of these I did. Uh, there's a lot of musicians out there that, when they're doing their music, it's great music, very catchy, but its level of social consciousness, yeah, might not be that much. But with all of that, there are some, and I started with this series with Bruce Springsteen, who has one of the most enlightened consciousness that I've seen. That falls right in with my own thinking and how I do these things. First thing I want to say is I do not own the rights to this music. I make no claims to it, and I change nothing about what's there. This is strictly a reaction and being done for the music itself, which I find incredible, and my feelings about how this reflects on us and our consciousness uh, about society around us. Now, as I said, some artists have more consciousness than others. And that's not an easy thing when you're considered one of the backup guys in that famous retinue. And with those people, sometimes you don't realize how influential they are in that big star's music. In this case, we've got one that shaped the music of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. Shaped it in a lot of ways and still is. And that is not easy when you're one of the background guys. He's really not. If you've seen Springsteen live, you've seen this guy. He and Springsteen go back to their teenage years. They were in rival bands, sort of, but they had a commonality. A lot of the people on the Jersey Shore did. It goes back to their teen years, and then when we really look at it, they teamed up. They did similar music, they wrote together, and eventually Little Steven became part of the band. Uh, if he wasn't one of the founders of the band, that's who I'm talking about. We're talking about Steven Van Zandt. You know him from a lot of things. You know him from the E Street Band, start there. You know him from The Sopranos, Silvio Dante. Uh, you know him from Lilyhammer, another television series. And you know him from his music, not just as Little Steven, but also another band. Well, there were tons of bands, but one of the bigger ones, and he was a founder, Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes. If you've never listened to them and you like horn bands, yeah, one of the best. But in 1976, he helped create Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes with John Lyon. didn't take, didn't put his name, Little Steven and the Southside Jukes, or and the Southside Jukes and the Asbury Jukes. He didn't put his name on it. That's not the kind of guy he is. He just loves the music. Obviously, he's got his own ego and sensibilities, but if somebody else's name on the band, I don't care. I'm doing the music. And he was doing the music. But he started that band, and in that time, that band, Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes, had quite a lot of members that you've heard the name of. Uh, there's one Southside live recording. They're doing the song Stagger Lee, and somebody that almost never makes a mistake, Max Weinberg, did. And you have it in the recording. Max, you want another shot at that one? But that was one of the people that was in Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes. Other players that were there, you've heard these names: Clarence Clemens, Gary Talent, Ernest Boom Boom Carter, Patty Scalfa. Uh, that you know these names from the E Street Band. You know these names from Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes. But Stephen joined the E Street Band officially in 1975. He went out on the Born to Run tour. And before that, he had been collaborating with Bruce. Bruce Springsteen credits him for the guitar riff that is Born in the USA. Uh, Gives him a lot of credit for advancing his career, rightfully so. But that didn't continue forever. And in 1984, Little Steven left the E Street Band. There wasn't a rift, there wasn't a problem. What happened was Bruce Springsteen heard a lot of Steven's music and said, dude, you got to put this stuff out there. And there was a hiatus from the band, from the E Street Band. And we had Little Steven putting out songs, albums, doing concerts as one of my favorite bands, Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul. And look them up. I'm going to work with a song now from the last album they did in the 80s that didn't come out till later. It was a huge recording session, a lot of things done, a lot of different musicians, and Little Steven put together a number of albums. This was the later of that time. Anyway, we're going to go back a little bit further and remind everybody another thing you've heard of is the Stone Pony in Jersey. Everybody knows that, oh, well, Bruce Springsteen got his start there. Well, Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes were the house band. That's that's a lot. Uh, and we have Little Steven, who was probably one of the most influential musicians for the Jersey Shore sound. An incredible sound. When we got into Little Steven and the Disciples of Soul, we started hearing the social and political consciousness. There, there's just not enough time to go all the things that developed that in him and what he put out there. You'd have to listen to 1,000 interviews. But just like Bruce Springsteen, you probably ought to just listen to the guy live. This is not a live recording, but in it, in that album, the album itself is Born Again Savage. His work has always included a hope for enlightenment and to what the richest country in the world can make better or destroy. He's been there for a long time. First, let's look at his musical output and what he has as a musician. If you don't know this, at this point right now, Steven Van Zandt is the music director for Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. That didn't happen till 40 years later, but it's the truth now. Anyway, this in particular song uh, is one that, for me, speaks very clearly to what we have going on and why we need to pay attention. And I don't mean attention to mainstream media, mainstream news. I mean, find out the real stories, what's behind this. Little Steven speaks to it in this song, talking about how blinded we are sometimes, and maybe a lot of time. This in particular recording is the studio version of the song Camouflage of Righteousness. The band in this song is Blow Your Mind Good too. Three pieces and somebody that did added some background vocals. But the band in this one is Steve Van Zandt, Jason Bonham. If you don't know who Jason Bonham is, you know who his dad is. That would be John Bonham. Look that one up. And Adam Clayton. I mean, just a powerhouse trio. And they prove it from the opening riff. So let's get to it, and then let's talk about the lyrics. This particular video scrolls those lyrics. So let's get with it. Middle Eastern influence. But then, I like the premise of the video.
The old men make excuses while the young men bring the noise, and nothing ever changes 'cause boys keep being boys.
Don't wait.
Women just surrender while Cinderella slept. Now they know they waited too long. There's nothing worth stealing left. Under the camouflage of righteousness, we supply the sins while you confess. You're seduced by the vampire's sweet caress.
stop there for a second. And I just want to remind us that in a lot of ways, this is who we've become. We make excuses. We get loud. Meanwhile, we subjugate women. And too many of those women let that happen. Cinderella slept. Then we get into the chorus. We'd supply the sins while you confess. Look at that. Let's just start with the supposed war on drugs. Who's taking those drugs? We want to blame everybody outside. Wouldn't be here if there weren't a market. And all too often, that's it. Let's just monetize everything. And that includes people dying for their vices, but it's such a huge business, we keep doing it. We supply the sins while you confess. Let's continue.
You politicians, man, you call it choice. We let you do the voting, and you think you have a voice. We control the information, and you call yourself informed. We give you our religion, and you believe it's yours. Under the camouflage of righteousness, we supply the sins while you confess. You're seduced by the vampire sweet caress. Behind the camouflage of righteousness.
Stop there again. He mentioned if we let you do the voting and you think you made a choice. Did we? I don't know about that. Those choices are handed to us, and we have essentially only two. That's a voice? I don't know. I don't think that is. It's the same with the stuff that media tells us is news. It all depends on the spin, the echo room you're in, and whether or not you like what's being told to you. Being hypnotized, and little Stephen points that out. While I'm here, though, I want to talk about the music. Let's talk about that overpowering sound from three guys. We've had some power trios out there. The Police, a good example. ZZ Top. Uh, the sound just boom. This one is right up there. This in particular combination, Little Steven, Jason Bonham, and Adam Clayton, his bass guitar, Jason Bonham's drums, oh my God, overpowering. But the big one in there is the reality of Little Steven's guitar. Everybody thinks of him as a rhythm guitarist when they talk about the E Street Band. Rhythm guitarist? Have you heard yeah, the leads that he puts out there? The guy'll knock you over. So, uh, the reality of his guitar, just overpowering. All right, let's go on. Little bit of wah wah in there. Puts on the glasses that tell the truth, takes them off, and we see the bullshit.
Life is just a dream. Reach out and touch the screen. We're here to soothe you.
Media tries.
Relax. It's better if you don't fight. Believe in the flickering light. We can't afford to lose you.
That's the big one. Can't afford to lose us.
We offer
Wow.
you diversion on any channel you choose. We give you bread and circus, and you still call it news. We orchestrate your hatred. It's as clear as white and black. We select your history, and you believe it's fact. Under the camouflage of
Stop there again. That particular verse just knocks me back on my heels because that's what we are right now. Now, this thing was back in the late 80s, and who know, now, 40 years, it's still so pertinent. We offer you diversion on any channel you choose. We give you bread and circus, and you still call it news. Seems to me that we're speaking to news becoming far too much reality TV. That's what it's become. A lot of crap. Whatever soothes the masses. And we've seen that so harshly in the last 10 years, but especially in this last election. Anyway, we select your history and you believe it's fact. I don't know. Does canceling critical race theory fall into that category? Kind of think it does. Let's finish out the song.
righteousness, we supply the sins while you confess. You're seduced by the vampire sweet caress. Behind the camouflage of righteousness, behind the camouflage of righteousness, behind the camouflage of righteousness, behind the camouflage.
Read that last piece. There you have it. If that's your first taste of Little Steven as a solo artist, it's a good place to start. There's so much more behind it. Listen to him. Listen to the way the man's mind is somewhat expanded from ours, or a lot of ours. In all of that, the things that he put in that song, I have to ask, this is what America is? Is it? Or is it just the mass media? There's truth out there. We got to look for it. and you got to be careful who you listen to with it. What we have right now, a lot of times, especially with the media, is just a big damn tailgate party. Okay, tailgate parties are fun. I get it. Let's not live our lives that way. I got to think about this one, this song, Long and Hard. It's been affecting me ever since it first came out, and it does now more than ever. I'd ask you to go and look up Little Stephen, the Disciples of Soul. Listen to Underground Garage. You'll find out what that is. Once you've heard some of those things, now go back and listen to the E Street Band and the influence because it's huge. Anyway, I love this guy. I love his music. I love how it all ties in with that Jersey Shore sound. And I'm not going to leave this guy alone. I'm going to turn this into a series. If you like it, well, like and subscribe the channel, and let's open our minds a little bit. All right. I love you, America. Share this shit.